What is the future of the film industry? Is it dying, or is it about to have the biggest rebirth that we've ever seen? Let's talk about it a little bit. In 2020, everything shut down, and we all went through a giant shared trauma that I think we're all still coming back from. And film workers ended up being named essential workers during that period, and we all got back to work surprisingly fast. After a few months of panic and wondering if the world was going to end, we almost managed to get back to a sense of normalcy in spite of everything. Yes, constant COVID testing, but it was work and paid surprisingly well if you were willing to do it. We managed to almost scrape through that and come back to some sort of new normal. And then came the writers and SAG-AFTRA renegotiations of the basic contract. It caught some of us by surprise how poorly that actually went. After a lot of posturing from both sides, we came to one of the longest labor strikes that the industry had ever seen. Now, I'm not going to say I was against the strikes because they happened for incredibly vital reasons, and it's been getting harder and harder to make a living as a crew member for a very long time. But a consequence of this, that there's no two ways around it, was it also stopped production, and it's never started back up again. For the past several years now, jobs have gotten fewer and fewer, and myself and many others who make their living almost entirely from film production have been struggling to find a way to keep afloat. This has led to a discussion of, is film dying? If you look at the numbers, it certainly looks like traditional film might be. While there are still a lot of projects filming and a lot of money being spent, most studios have been shipping their productions out of country to places that are cheaper, have less organized labor movements, or the dollar just spends further. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. I'm not saying everyone's just trying to cheap out on labor. There's places like England that technically the labor is more expensive, but other factors like socialized healthcare leads to them just paying less money in spite of a better day rate for labor. And they have organized labor as well. Currently, there's a movement called Get California Rolling that seems like it has a chance of potentially bringing some stuff back. But the Q1 reports that recently were released are not painting a great picture of the current state of affairs. Filming across the board is down about 20%, and the fewest number of TV pilots ever recorded were filmed in this pilot season. Now, does this mean that film is dying or film is changing? Over the last few years, there's been a huge growth in smaller independent projects in the $1 to $2 million range. I've worked on quite a few of these myself, both in LA and in other states, and this could be the future. We might be moving in a direction where instead of studios financing projects, independent filmmakers make smaller projects that they really believe in, and then they find homes for themselves after production is complete. There's a world this could lead to a really vital filmmaking community with enough time. But in the meantime, how are middle-class filmmakers, people that are not above the line, who aren't directors, who make their living on weekly projects, and frankly don't make a very good living at it either? The middle class of film has been steadily declining and receding for as long as I've been in the industry, and since before I even started. If you talk to anyone from earlier decades, they'll talk about how much better the hours, the pay, the benefits actually were than they are now. I'm a proud union member myself, but in the years that I've been a member of Local 800, I can't say that I've really worked on that many union projects, partially due to I'm young and not as well known as other production designers, and partially because there just isn't as much work as there once was. I don't think film's ever going to fully disappear. The statistics from this year have actually shown that YouTube is one of the fastest growing entertainment sources in the world. It's starting to compete legitimately with places like Netflix and Amazon Prime. And maybe instead of seeing it as film is dying, maybe film is just changing to something that we don't recognize right now. I would be lying if I said that wasn't a shame on some level, because I think there's something to be said for a large crew that are all doing jobs they're really good at. There is something you get out of the collaboration of hundreds of passionate filmmakers that know their craft backwards and forwards, all working together in unison, that you simply won't get from one person wearing a dozen hats. My recent project, Bounty, is a great example of, while you can make a film with a few people doing a lot of things, it leads to a lot of problems too. I won't say that Bounty is a masterpiece, and I won't say that it's the best project it could have been, because I was doing 6 things on it. I had other people doing 6 things on it. There was no dedicated single sound mixer. There was a director who was also the camera operator, who was also doing 15 other things and producing. When you have your attention split in 1,000 different directions, can you even make art anymore? Can you make something that's worth watching? I think that's a question that we're all going to be asking ourselves more and more in the next few years as crews shrink and the ability of an individual to probably do too many jobs grows. I don't know if the future we're seeing is going to be good or bad for the medium. I know it's bad for the people who've made their lives off of a system that seems to be withering. Maybe in the next few years we'll start seeing revitalization of traditional filmmaking. Maybe the mid-budget picture of $10 to $30 million might return, and we might start seeing theater runs become more vital and more of an aspect again. When streamers took over and essentially decimated the traditional release structure of theater to home video, they knew they were disrupting the system, but they didn't know at the time how much it would actually destroy the system in place to actually make a film profitable. The problem right now is streaming models don't really seem to work, and theater runs have been completely undercut by an audience understanding just wait a couple weeks and you can watch it at home. Why go spend $30 at a cinema when you can spend $20 at home? Now, people smarter than me seem to have a lot of varying ideas of where things are going. I don't know what the answer is, but I'd love to hear what you think, and I'd love to hear how you think this might be progressing over the next few years. Thank you.